What were you doing at 16? Johan JoJo Ghazali was destroying Muay Thai fighters.
I'm only 16 years old, and I did it in 16 seconds!
1 year later, and he shows no signs of slowing. Out of his 5 fights, all of them victorious, 4 have ended via KO. This 17-year-old pressure fighter has everything it takes to become a star of the sport. He's a high-octane pressure fighter with non-stop aggression, insane volume, brutal liver shots, and in-ring swagger reminiscent of Rodtang. If JoJo starches his next opponent at 167 on June 7th on Prime Video, he'll be one step closer to what may be an inevitable collision course with the Iron Man. JoJo has all of the ferocity you would expect from someone his age, but the surprising thing is the maturity and intelligence he shows in the ring. You might assume a 17-year-old knocking out experienced high-level fighters may be dominating due to fearlessness or elite genetics. A quick glance at his debut bout on One Friday Fights, which lasted no more than 15 seconds, could leave you to believe that. Johan threw a kick and got his foot caught. After he escaped, JoJo did not adjust distance, but stayed right at mid-range. He then leaped into a wild attack, which ended the fight. You could call this foolhardy behavior the boldness of youth, but a closer look reveals how JoJo used his gazelle hook to shuffle far to his left, placing his lead foot near his opponent's rear foot, lining up his right from a safer position. This was a favorite tactic of Mike Tyson. The same way it's not bragging if you could back it up, it's not reckless if you have the skills to pull it off. Johan actually has a highly developed ring IQ for any age. So let's look at what this high schooler can teach us. How he closes the distance and stops opponents from escaping, as well as his crazy offense, his counterpunching, and how he smashes right through opponents' best defenses. In his second fight against Tai, Johan faced an opponent just as aggressive as he was. If Johan made his first fight appear effortless, this one would reveal what he was truly made of. Like two rams locking horns, whoever could consistently push the other back would prove themselves the true pressure fighter and win the fight. To this effect, the high schooler used a high guard and direct bone-on-bone checks. This way, he could tank the shot and return a harder one.
As long as the first time he was in
Tai redoubled his efforts, looking to teach this rebellious youth a lesson, but somehow ended up on the floor. It will become apparent why later. Now Ghazali moved in, double jabbing to get Tai to raise and tighten his guard, before sinking in a hard body shot. When Tai tried to counter, he found himself flying across the ring. But just a moment later, Johan's body hook was countered with a head hook. Now it was back to Tai pressing the attack. But Johan shelled up, circled out, and shelled Tai with hard right hands. At the end of the heated exchange, it was JoJo pushing forward, asking for more. He cornered Tai, repeatedly pushing him back to the corner for more punishment. In a sport where balance is everything, Tai found himself so overwhelmed, he was knocked off his feet twice. In round 2, JoJo's pressure really started to pay off. Tai's shots were getting less tight and more desperate. This is what any pressure fighter wants, and Johan took the opportunity to intercept his shots. When Tai tried to cross, JoJo caught him mid-motion with a hard leg kick. A moment later, he slipped away from an elbow to take a dominant angle, knocking Tai off balance yet again. But then, Johan got cut. This is one of the most demoralizing things that can happen to a fighter.
He says, do not let me go out that way. He says he's good to go.
But JoJo has the same reaction to blood as a shark. At the tail end of the round, he caught Tai's kick. distracted him with punches while off-balancing him by walking him sideways, then ended the sequence with a sweep. At the start of the final round, Tai found himself on the floor again. And from this angle, it's very clear why. JoJo timed to frame against his left shoulder just as he unleashed his kick, sending him toppling to the canvas. Constantly pushing and framing at the end of exchanges is a huge part of how JoJo keeps the pressure on. And though it may seem rudimentary, there's a lot of nuance involved. Johan kept pushing and kept taunting till Tai completely lost it. While his warrior spirit was never in question, it came in tandem with his shots becoming reckless and wild.
These guys are swinging with everything that they've got. Good head movement from Ty. Ghazali answers back with a beautiful little pullback. Right punches, fingers fucking moves out.
When Tai shifted forward with a strike into southpaw, JoJo smoothly slid back to the outside, lining up a hard lead hook and finishing the fight with a tremendous right to the temple. Johan's next fight against Samurai was a clinic in ring control through physicality. He herded Samurai to the left with roundhouse kicks, then used lead gazelle hooks to cut him off and catch him, turning the long hook into a hold and transitioning into clinches. Again, he ended most exchanges by pushing Samurai back, framing off the lead shoulder. Or grabbing his high guard to push or turn him, off-balancing his opponent and forcing him back into corners. When Samurai tried to hold firm, Johan would crash into his guard, piercing straight through with lead elbows.
He's so skilled as well. Look at him. With his timing, with his ankles moving left. It's not just an offensive boost to boot Ghazali.
Or coming around the side. Always pushing, always framing.
His younger brother and sister through school for Muay Thai. So this is ultra good.
Here he pinned Samurai's guard, grabbing both of his wrists before sending an elbow straight through. Here's the same sequence with the left hook. In round 3, he added an uppercut to these attacks. By the end of the fight, he had complete and total control, pushing Samurai back each time he tried to escape, then piercing his guard with another pressure-fighting classic, alternating hooks and uppercuts. Since uppercuts entice opponents to tighten their shell and hooks to widen it, throwing one after the other means that one shot creates an opening for the next. Though this would be JoJo's one fight without a knockout, there was definitely no question who the victor was. Ghazali's next bout against Bek Morzaev would end in a familiar fashion. At first, Bek's speed and lateral movement was creating problems for Johan. But JoJo quickly adjusted, tightening up the distance to crowd him at close range. Caught in the clinch, Bek attempted a knee, and Johan timed it perfectly, slamming him down onto the mat. Apparently, Bek Morzaev is the kind of fighter that gets aggressive when under intense pressure. Johan faded back from his jab and rebounded with a jab elbow of his own, intercepting Bek's attempted spin elbow. From this point on, Johan would control the fight, catching shots on his guard, moving in close, landing strikes, then pushing Bek back with angled frames, or throwing him out of the clinch.
Friday fights so close to that contract, for the victory. With a nice lateral movement from Beck Gonzalez to get his way from the ropes. And we see Ghazali egging him on.
The knockout came in the second. With 40 seconds left, JoJo slipped a jab and elbow framed against Beck's neck, whirling a rear elbow that sent Beck stumbling. With his opponent against the ropes, Johan slapped him across the face with a roundhouse kick. He pressed in the smother, then pushed Beck back, sinking a right hand into his stomach. Beck tried to jab out of the corner, but JoJo stepped back just enough, rebounding into a 1-2 and finishing with a crushing liver shot. It was another highlight reel knockout for the high schooler.
I turn 17 next month. I guess I have a one championship contract before I even have my driver's license. So this is crazy, bro. This is crazy.
JoJo's next fight against the former WBC Muay Thai champion Edgar Tabares was over very quickly, and at this point, you can probably recognize all the classic pressure fighting techniques, like the big roundhouse kick, raising the guard to target the liver, frame against the chest, elbow frame into off-angle push, constant forward pressure while defending, and one last time, a raising of the guard to clear way for a liver shot. It's rare to see a ring IQ like this in such a young competitor.
My name, Johan. In Malay, it means champion. I will live by my name. Mark my words, I will be youngest one championship Muay Thai champion ever.
The only big sign of inexperience I've noticed is that JoJo will sometimes throw himself out of position by putting too much into his attacks. So far, this hasn't cost him much, and the tendency will likely go away as he gains more time in the ring. It goes without saying, he has a bright future ahead of him, and as he gains more experience, he'll become a very serious threat. I look forward to seeing how far he can go. He'll be fighting next at 167 on June 7th. You could check it out on Prime Video. He'll take on a terrific head kicker in Nguyen Tran Do Not, which should make for an exciting fight, to say the least. From the Modern Martial Artist, this has been David Christian, wishing you happy training.